Welcome back, welcome back to another episode of the Lounge Remix. I'm your host, the Lounge Heavyweight Champion himself, Mr. Big J, and we got the man, the myth, the legend, extremely knowledgeable college analyst, NBA and NFL draft expert. We got Mr. Sherm the Worm in the cut. Sherm, how you doing today, man?
Howdy, howdy. How you doing? How we feeling?
We great, man. College season just wrapped up, so we got a whole lot to talk about, man. But before we get started, Sherm, you know how we start every episode. Gotta test your ball knowledge, man. Since we're in the college spirit, shout out to Through the Wire. They gave me this idea. They did the most players all time from each college, but I want you to see if you can guess the 10 colleges with the most active NBA players.
Most active NBA players. So people in the league right now.
Yep.
Let's get it. Let's get it.
So let's see.
Give me Duke and Kentucky right off the bat.
1 and 2 respectively. Kentucky at 26, Duke at 24.
All right. Then I'm gonna have to say UCLA.
They're at 3 with 15.
3. 15 is 3. All right.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one. Is Gonzaga on there?
Gonzaga is tied for 5th at 11.
5th. All right. All right. How about Kansas?
Kansas is sole at 4 with 12.
All right. So I got the top 5 already.
Yeah, you got one of the top 5, so you got 5 left, man.
All right. All right. Dang, this is tougher than I thought.
One is for sure gonna stomp you because they're not known for. One is a school that's genuinely not known for basketball, honestly.
What about Virginia? Is Virginia on there?
Virginia did not make the list.
No? Okay. I know they got a couple, Malcolm Brogdon, DeAndre Hunter. I wasn't sure. Oh, Villanova, obviously. They got like 20 on the Knicks.
Yep, Villanova is tied for, I believe that is 6th with 10.
All right, so Villanova is on there. USC?
USC did not make the list. That's 2.
No.
You got one more, sir. Come on.
I got strikes? What?
Come on, man. You usually good. You got any hint? You want any hints? I give you a few.
Dang. What about Texas?
Texas did make the list.
Okay.
They are tied 5th with 11. Now, you still got one more tied 5th. You got 2 more at spot 6.
So I got 3 left total?
3 left total.
Dang, this is ooh.
I can give you a hint.
Give me a hint.
2 of these schools are more known for their football, and one of them is extremely good at football, especially as of now.
That hint didn't help me whatsoever.
Okay.
Oh, Michigan,
yes.
Michigan,
Okay,
Michigan, yeah.
with 11.
All right.
You got 2 more.
Let's talk conferences. What conferences are they in?
Formerly, did the Pac-12 get dissolved?
Yeah, so one's former Pac-12
and the SEC school.
Pac-12 and SEC.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like I said, one of these schools is for sure not known for basketball. Kind of lucked up in recent years. And the second school is, they're not per se they've always been a better basketball school, but you will be surprised how decent they are in football at times. Oh, and also the team that's not that good at football, that's not that good at basketball, is extremely good at baseball.
Baseball. These hints are not helpful whatsoever, man. All right. So one in the Pac-12, one is SEC.
Mm-hmm.
So I think about SEC.
I give you one more hint for each.
All right.
For the SEC school, for the SEC school, they had 2 players selected. Well, they had 2 players in last year's class for the SEC school. And And for the Pac-12 school, one of their guys, if I'm not mistaken, they have a dunk contest champion from the Pac-12 school, if I'm not mistaken.
So, SEC, I'm thinking it's got to be either Auburn or Alabama.
Okay, I'm not going to tout that as a guess, but no, it is neither.
Neither. Okay.
It's neither.
He said 2 in last year's draft class. This is insane.
SEC East school.
Okay. You're stumping me here, man. I gotta say, let's go Tennessee.
Sean, the last 2 remaining schools were Arkansas with 10. They had Anthony Black and the guy that went to the Celtics. What's his name? Can't think of
Arkansas.
his name. And Arizona with 10.
You know, I was gonna say Arizona because I was thinking Aaron Gordon.
Yep,
so I was gonna say Arizona.
Aaron Gordon. Yep, that's what I said.
I should have went with them first and then tried the SEC school because I was thinking Arizona, but I wasn't thinking about Arkansas at all. Man, I didn't know Arkansas had that many pro hoopers.
It's just because of last year, and they had the 2 that got in last year.
Oh, that's it. So it was only 2.
No, it's 10. It's 10, but the 2 that got in last year is probably what pushed them onto the list.
That's nuts. I should have said I was thinking Arizona. I was gonna say them next, but I was so focused on the SEC school. That stumped me, man. That was a good question. You got me with that one.
Was it a world where you really guessed Arkansas is a hoop school, like has hoopers?
I mean, yes and no. I'm familiar more with Arkansas basketball than football, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to say they had a former top 5 NFL pick because I couldn't tell you what year. Because they had Dan McFadden. I couldn't tell you what year he was drafted. I feel like McFadden would have gave it away, but I can't tell you what year he was drafted.
Shout out Arkansas, man. Shout out the Razorbacks. They got Coach Cal coming in. You feel me?
Yes, sir.
That program going to be first round exits moving forward.
So what just kind of in your mind, what's the deal behind that?
Look, man, Coach Cal's been at Kentucky for a long time, and they just haven't won. That's the deal. Winning is going to be the formula for everything. So when I look at the team, they were trying to move on from him, but they gave him this massive, basically lifetime contract a couple years ago. So they were stuck between a rock and a hard place. They either had to fire him and pay him $33 million or keep him on the team when it was clear that he had lost the locker room. There are some rumors he had some bad relationships with the AD. So it was clear that it was just time to move on. And I think Coach Cal realized that. He said so in his press conference as well, or his little media thing that he posted. He said it was just time for a fresh voice, time to move on. The fact that he was able to move on to another SEC school, that's pretty good. You know, Arkansas, they have that history. They're able to get recruits to go there. Mm-hmm. So he went to a pretty decent spot, and now Kentucky's off the hook. They can move on from him, and they don't have to worry about paying him that contract anymore. So it's a good setup for both sides. We'll see how he ends up doing in Arkansas. I think Coach Cal, he's a good coach when it comes to developing pros. But I don't know if he's a good coach when it comes to the X's and O's.
Now, with that being said, do you think Kentucky falls off a little bit? Because it's kind of like we were talking the other day about this Alabama thing, and do you kind of feel it's the same way as far as basketball? Do you think that Kentucky falls off a little bit as far as their recruiting?
Well, it's all going to depend on who they hire to be their next head coach, right? You know, we've heard a lot of rumors about this person, that person. If they're able to poach another, high quality coach off another system, and boy, let me tell you, I know Dusty May, the former FAU coach, he went to Michigan. I know he's probably upset that this Kentucky job wasn't open a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I think he would have much rather taken that job. But it just depends on what type of coach they bring in. There's been rumors they might go after Dan Hurley. I don't see him leaving UConn right now anyway. There's no reason to.
Oh, yeah, not at all.
But they also been looking at Alabama's coach, Nate Oates. Again, I don't think he would leave Alabama to go to another SEC school, but if he does, I think he's a pretty good coach. He's been able to recruit, high recruits in the past. So it all depends on the head honcho they got coming in next. There's been talks too. They might promote some of their assistant coaches. So we'll see what happens. But I think the biggest thing is we're going to have to take a look at some of the decommits now. This happens all the time. When Saban left Alabama, we saw a lot of players enter that transfer portal, a lot of players decommit. So that's going to be the challenge right now is who's decommitting, who's going to enter that transfer portal, who's going to leave. We know a couple of their players right now, their key players are going to the draft. So there's going to be a lot of turnover for Kentucky's roster. We'll see. Next year, they might take a step back, honestly.
Okay. Now, could you see anybody jumping from the NBA coming down? Is that a possibility?
It is a possibility. We hear a lot of talks about, Billy Donovan. Obviously, we know what he did back then in Florida. Right? The Bulls, they may move on from him this offseason, but who knows? I think for him, he's a bit older now. I just don't see him wanting to go to Kentucky. But, once they put that contract in front of you, that might change things.
But it don't matter. That money talk.
Right. For him, I think he'd rather either stay in the NBA or go to a smaller program and try to build up there. So we'll see what ends up happening. I'm very interested in this Kentucky situation right now.
You got to keep an eye on it. Now, let's start off with the women's national championship game. Shout out to Miss Dawn Staley, man. Class act in her own right. Very inspirational. She came through, man. Lost 3 games in, 4 years? I think it's 3 games in 4 years.
Yeah.
Second natty in 4 years. Sherm, how you feel about the women's game?
Oh, man, it was a fantastic game. Fantastic season overall, man. I'm a big Caitlin Clark fan, so kind of hurt for me to see her lose, back-to-back years. But, you can't take anything away from Dawn Staley and what she's done over there with those girls, man. It's just an amazing story to go undefeated the entire season, undefeated, not a single loss. There are a couple scares in there, a couple situations for sure, but that is just absolute dominance, absolute coaching prowess. I mean, she did a fantastic job, scheming up with her girls there. And listen, they were on a mission. Iowa knocked them out last year, and they wanted that get back. You know what I mean? So they're on a mission. I think it's the most impressive thing to me is the fact that Dawn Staley was able to do this without any of her starters from last year. All her starters last year left. All the people now were either, on the bench last year or, freshmen. So that's a pretty amazing accomplishment in its own right. So shout out to Dawn Staley, man. Shout out to South Carolina, Cardozo, Chloe Kitts. Shout out to them, man.
And I gotta still give a big shout out to Caitlin Clark. Basketball is a team sport objectively, but it's hard when somebody goes up and gives you 38-5 to say that she's the reason they lost. You know what I'm saying? I hate when people try and say, "Oh, Clark and this and that." I'm like, man, she still balled out. She did her thing. But you know what I'm saying? She can't help that. And I feel like with Dawn Staley, that's probably what she did. Hey, Caitlin Clark, you're going to have to beat me. I'm not letting nobody else come out here and give me a butt. Caitlin, this your team, Caitlin. You're going to have to drop 60 and beat us.
No, that's exactly what Dawn Staley did. She said, Caitlin Clark, go crazy. You're going to hit all these shots. But she knew that her teammates were going to have to step up. And listen, I don't want to sit up here and trash her teammates. They're D1 hoopers. They're dogs, okay? We ain't going to take nothing away from them. They deserved it. They were just as important to Iowa's success as Caitlin Clark. But at the end of the day, their skill sets were it's just hard to win that way with their skill sets. They weren't able to put the ball on the floor and make decisions when it mattered. And that's what we saw time and time again. Iowa run into that problem. We saw this last year, and we saw it this year again. But still, shout out to them. They had a tremendous season. They hit big shots. They hit their threes. They played amazing defense, right? But I think at the end of the day, the biggest thing I take away from Iowa and the Caitlin Clark experience as a whole is when you have such a heliocentric player like Caitlin Clark. We saw this in the past with guys like James Harden. We're seeing this now with Luka. When you have that heliocentric dynamic guard, you need to have another ball handler and another facilitator next to them. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And that's why we see with Luka, the best parts of his career is now with Kyrie, but also when Jalen Brunson was over there hooping.
When he had
we saw this with James Harden, right? When you put him next to KD, when you put him next to Chris Paul, that unlocked another aspect of his game. So I think that's what I want to see out of Caitlin Clark when she gets to the pros. You know, she's probably going to go to Indiana. You know, they got Aaliyah over there. So I want to see Caitlin learn how to play with another dynamic scorer, another dynamic ball handler, and see if that can open up her game just even further than it already is.
Now, how do you feel about Diana Taurasi? Is it Diana Taurasi over there? Yeah. Hating? Like, I don't understand it, man.
You know what? You know what's funny? So I was actually up and I was watching that interview, and I didn't think anything of it. But then a couple hours later, I'm on Twitter. Everybody's going crazy. I feel like her quote was taken out of context a little bit. She was giving Caitlin Clark her flowers, her credit. All she said was, hey, when you get into the league, it's going to be different. So stay hungry, stay aggressive, because you're going to have that target on your back. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. As a competitor, that's what I would tell somebody too. Listen, Caitlin Clark, all this stuff is college, but stay hungry. Keep grinding, because when you get to the league, we ain't friends no more. When we step in those lines, we ain't friends no more.
But
who's competitors?
Who's to say that this previous tournament wasn't some of the best competition Caitlin's gonna face? I'm not trying to
stop. Yeah, see, you need to stop that now. You need to stop that now.
I'm saying, who's to say that we're not looking at the entire? I know we're looking at the future of the WNBA right in front of us in general, but who's to say that these women won't be better than the current crop we have now?
You need to stop that. Here's the difference. Here's the difference between college and pros. The difference is age. The difference is experience. Okay, you have Diana Taurasi. She's in her 30s. She's won championships. She's been through all that stuff, bro. Then you got Caitlin Clark, who still she's what, 22? They're just it's difference, man. It's the same thing with the NBA. We see the same exact thing with the NBA. Now, if LeBron went up there and said, "Oh, Wemby," like let's say last year, LeBron said, "Wemby, you doing your thing in France, but when you come to the league, it's gonna be a different challenge." Nobody would have a problem with LeBron said that, right?
Man, going on.
Oh, hey, listen, nobody would have a problem with LeBron said that, right?
Don't pull that card.
Now, what if a couple years ago, Michael Jordan said, "Man, this kid LeBron, he's amazing, but he doing that in high school. When he come to the league, it's
man, Jordan don't have to pull that card. His homies pull that card all the time.
See, you need to stop that now.
I get what you're saying.
That's the point.
No, but listen, I get what you're saying though. I don't know. It felt like a shot, and if it is, I'm all for it because I love competition. I love rivalries. Part of me hope it was a shot because I want to see what happened.
I don't think it was a shot. She was asked the question by the interviewer, Scott Van Pelt. Scott Van Pelt was like, "Hey, is it going to be sweet in the league?" And DT said, "It ain't going to be sweet." But she didn't say Caitlin Clark's not going to be able to make the adjustment. She said there will be an adjustment she has to make. That was it. It wasn't a shot. It was facts. That's reality. It's a difference between college and pros. That's why they're two different leagues. That's why one gets paid and the other has to depend on NIL deals.
But I will say this though. I guess the reason did you watch which broadcast of the Iowa UConn game did you watch?
I watched the main one.
Okay. It kind of stemmed from if you watch because they had Sue Bird and DT on their own broadcast thing. And if you watch that, I'm not gonna lie, Sherm.
She would take a shot.
I have chose 2 UConn players to do a UConn game. Boy, they was hating a little bit, Sherm.
Listen, I just chalk it up to competition, man.
Yeah, that's where it stemmed from.
I don't think DT's sitting up there saying Caitlin Clark is trash, man. You have to remember,
they weren't sitting up there saying
like Kobe, man.
They weren't sitting up there saying she was trash, but they definitely were like, hey, they put like this. Just don't, if you're gonna have some people commentate a game, don't get two people that went to the school that's playing. Don't get two people. That's just like putting me and somebody who else is an Auburn fan to do an Auburn game and supposed to be unbiased. That you can't do that. That was not unbiased at all.
I feel you.
But now, so moving on to the men's side. I want to jump back to the men's Final Four. Men's Final Four, a little underwhelming, if you ask me. How did you feel about that Final Four?
I thought the Final Four was amazing. Probably not the first game with DJ Burns and NC State putting up the stinker. But at the same time, I kind of expected it. It was like the clock struck midnight a little bit, and the whole thing just came crashing down. I actually think the Alabama and the UConn game was a pretty stinking good game. I think Alabama fought and gave it all that they got. They just came up short in the end. Weren't able to hit, a couple big shots in the second half. But I think from a basketball perspective, I think they were fine. Obviously, you want the games to be as close as possible.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to watch for the little game in the game. The little adjustments that the coaches are making, the rotations. What are the players doing, right? How are they getting shut down? How are they defending? How are they trying to problem solve around these schemes, right? So I enjoyed it for that reason, because I thought it was beautiful basketball being played out there. But obviously, you want the close games. You want the game winner, buzzer beaters, all that stuff. But we still got some amazing highlights out of them. I think they're, phenomenal basketball. And, man, UConn, we came up here the other day.
Oh, my gosh.
We spoke on that, right? UConn, they remind me of the Warriors because there's just inevitability about them. At some point, they're going to come on that run. At some point, they're going to turn on the burners, and that's exactly what they did against Purdue.
When they ran people out of the gym, man. And I think the thing that does it for me with a team like with a team like UConn is it's the way that they're winning. Like, of course, stats don't tell the story, of course. But, man, what was the lowest margin of victory they had this entire tournament?
I think it was, 14, 13?
14 points to Alabama.
Yeah.
So it took
Roll Tide.
It took somebody to get you all to the Final Four to lose by 14 points. I think that speaks volumes about the way this team was set up. And like you said, Sean, the most experienced teams are going to be the ones that win. These guys been together. Well, how many did they return all-starters from last year? No?
Nah, not all of them. They returned 2 starters and I think some bench players.
So, but yeah, man, it shows you how, to me, like we talk about, I think these last 2 runs by them should be the ones that encourage people to go to college and to stay in college. Because you look what this team done just off of being able to stick together, playing together. And, okay, of course they went to a good program. Obviously, UConn is a great program. They're known for – is UConn considered a blue blood or no?
I mean, I think we have to start having that conversation now. I think the difference between UConn and some of these other teams is the history, right? They didn't start winning until late 90s versus Duke, Carolina, UCLA, who have been around for a while, right? I think now 6 national championships, I think they got more than Duke, right? So I think we need to start having that conversation about blue bloods. But when I think about that game last night, man, I just have to, from a draft perspective, right? I'm a draft analyst. I love watching these prospects. And their big man, Donovan Clingan,
hold it. Stay more game because I got something for you with that.
Hey, bro, what's going on?
Hold it, man. Hold it, because I got some questions for you, especially about this draft. Well, matter of fact, I'll go ahead and ask you since you were talking about him. So,
right.
who was your most outstanding player specifically from the two championship teams, from South Carolina on the women's side and from UConn on the men's side?
From South Carolina, I got to go with the bigs for both teams. For South Carolina's Cardozo, she put up like a double-double, all had like multiple blocks. She was just a playmaker on both sides of the ball, big impact. You see Iowa, a lot of their game was predicated, if we can't get Caitlin Clark on threes, we got to drive. And it was just hard for them to drive, generate rim pressure when you got Cardozo in the middle. And on the men's side with UConn, I know Tristan Newton, he won it. Most outstanding player for the Final Four. Shout out Tristan Newton. But for me, it was Donovan Clingan. He put his defensive impact in both games against Alabama and against Purdue. Listen, I think part of the reason they were able to beat up on Purdue is because of Clingan. Because they had Clingan there, they were able to play Zach Edey one-on-one. They didn't have to bring double teams. They didn't have to do all these junk defenses on them. They just said, hey, we're going to put this big dude on you, pause, and he's just going to guard up. And that's exactly what happened. So you take Purdue all year long, they're used to having a mismatch in the paint. They're used to teams double teaming, and now Zach Edey's getting dudes with wide open threes. Well, guess what? Oh, snap. I've been getting double teamed all year. Now I'm not. Now what am I supposed to do? So now we see Zach Edey. He's going to these baby hooks. Early in the game, they was falling, but what happens when they stop falling, right? Yeah. What happens when he gets cold and tired? Now he's working a bit harder. Now these dudes who are used to getting wide open threes and their guards are short, they're like 5'8", 5'10". What happens to those dudes? Now they're getting guarded by 6'5" defensive monsters with Tristan Newton, Stephon Castle, Cam Spencer, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that was the biggest thing that UConn had going for them in this matchup. They were able to play Zach Edey one-on-one, which not a lot of teams in this country can.
Yep, and we were talking about the Blue Bloods. It's crazy. UConn now has tied North Carolina for the third most, and they have one more championship than Duke, who's a Blue Blood. Duke has 5, and 2 more than Kansas, another Blue Blood, who has only 4.
So how many Blue Bloods do you consider? For me, I think there's 8 Blue Bloods.
What are your 8?
I think it's got to be UCLA, North Carolina, Duke, Kansas. I think I got to put UConn in there. And then that leaves room for 3. It probably changes. You know, some years I'm like, man, you know, some years it's – oh, go ahead.
Well, if you're going off of the actual history and who has the most Division I championships, it goes in order from 1 to – okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Just from 1 to people who are tied. 1, UCLA has 11. Kentucky has 8. North Carolina and UConn both have 6. Duke and Indiana both have 5. Kansas has 4. Louisville has 3. And Villanova has 3.
See, we could take Indiana out of there. We could take Louisville out of there. When's the last time they won, man? I think those 2 teams can get out, and we can replace them with UConn for sure. And who was the last one you said? Villanova?
Nova, yeah.
I mean, Villanova, they had
Nova
their
has one recently.
They did, but I don't know if they're gonna be able to keep that going moving forward. You feel me?
I'm gonna say, yeah, Nova won that year. Nova won in 18. I believe that's the year that Auburn made the Final Four runs when Nova won.
This man said Auburn.
They won in 18 and in 16. So they
man said Auburn. Boy, you need to stop about Auburn, bro.
Come on, man. Anyways, continue with your spiel, sir.
That was it, man. I just shout out to UConn. Their offense. I mean, we spoke about their defense, but their offense too, man. The way they play, their offense is just so beautiful to watch because 1 through 4 is interchangeable. All of them can dribble, pass, shoot, and defend. So on offense, you look at that, Dan Hurley just let them go crazy. I mean, there's screens after screens. It's so complex. It's so many moving parts. And then you have their glue guys, right? Caravan and Cam Spencer. Man, I love Cam Spencer's game, man. I think he's fantastic. We'll see if he decides to enter the draft process or stay another year. I think he was probably, other than Clingan, their most important player. I mean, there was one possession late in the second half as they were trying to go on that run to finally close out the game. And Cam Spencer, the 6'4" guard, he gets a massive rebound over Zach Edey, Kaufman Wren, and I think it was Braden Smith. 3 Purdue guys. And he went in there and he snagged the rebound out of thin air.
You know, he got.
And that's the things Cam Spencer's been doing all year. He's one of the best rebounding guards in the entire nation. And stuff like that matters. When you got a guy out there rebounding, diving for loose balls, when you got a guy out there who can defend, a guy who can play smart, jump stop, dribble, pass, shoot, all that stuff. The little things, exactly. And that's why, to go back to this conversation we have all the time, that's why I love the college experience. Because in college, they teach you how to do the little things. You look at a guy like Draymond Green and all the stuff that he learned under Tom Izzo, right? Now he brings that to the league. What's Draymond doing? He's one of the best players in the league, and he don't even have a bag like that. But he knows how to do the little things. And that's why I think college is so important, so fundamental for these good, successful NBA players.
I'm sorry, you were saying what Draymond learned. I thought he learned how to RKO people when he was in college. But he is a great player. I do it. I'm not a Draymond hater. I love Draymond. I just think he's crazy. I'm not a Draymond hater at all.
I know. Draymond just be bugging, man. That's the problem with him.
I love Draymond's game.
He's a good player.
He's a glue guy. Now, moving on. I got to talk about Zach Edey. Like you said, didn't play a horrible game. One thing that we always talk about, especially in the NBA, once you get in these big game moments, you're not going to get the whistles like you usually do. You're just not. Only shot 10 free throws the other night, 7 for 10 on free throws. I'm going to be honest. I don't see Edey being anywhere near a lotto type of pick. But I can see somebody snagging Zach Edey late first, early second. Even if you, to me, as long as he's not going in the lottery, he could be a valuable pick for somebody in their team. I just don't feel, even in this somewhat weak of a class, I still don't see him being a lottery pick. But a guy who's 7'4", has nice size, great wind to be somebody that big. You see, he's a pretty good shot blocker. He probably have to get a little bit better on defense, especially being able to pull himself to the perimeter. Kind of have to pull a Rudy go. Rudy had to get better on the perimeter. But man, in a world where giants are everywhere in the NBA, he could be a quality big for somebody.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Edey, he's not a stiff, He's not Taco Fall or Boban, who's that tall and can barely move. He is a little slow, especially laterally, but he has some agility. He has some athleticism to him. And he also has good touch. I think he grew up playing baseball. He was a pitcher. And you can see that. He has pretty good touch around the rim, around the basket, all that stuff. But for me with Zach Edey, it's going to be hard to see his game translate to the NBA because other than post-ups, he doesn't do anything else offensively, right?
And you almost want him to go to a team that has an elite big currently or has had elite big men in the past so that somebody can help him. But the teams who would need a Zach Edey, they don't have the elite bigs a team that he would probably thrive great on, not having the most of an offensive game. A team like the Suns, first one of the teams that come to mind, all he has to do is pretty much just play defense, get rebounds, hit a layup around the rim every now and again. Suns are a team that come to mind. For the bench wise, I could see if Joel didn't play 48 minutes a night, I could see a Sixers type of, this type of team, so where he can really just thrive. And even, it might sound crazy, Sherm. I might be a crazy man, but I can even see with as astronomically great that Wemby is at doing a little bit of everything. Hey, put them side by side, see what happens.
You need to stop that, man.
I'm just being honest though. It's just a lot of places where he could fit in for the things that he thrives at, which is, like you said, since he doesn't have the elite jump shot, he requires back to the basket sometimes, where he could just thrive by playing extremely good defense as well as grabbing rebounds and doing the little things right.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, if he could be the third, fourth big man in an NBA rotation, there's nothing wrong with that, right? I mean, shout out to him. He's definitely an NBA player. There's an NBA player in there for sure. So, I mean, just enter the draft process. Like I said, I don't know if he's lottery, but I do think the tournament really did help boost his stock. I mean, he averaged dang near 30 and 15, won that back-to-back National Players of the Year. So, shout out to him. Nothing wrong with him. He's a decent player. I just don't see star upside in the league, but that's okay. Like, why are we trying to make him the next Yao Ming or the next Shaq? He doesn't have to. Just be a decent NBA player, man.
And I'm glad that you said that. And I believe I was talking to Dave about this the other day, and I was talking to Els. Els is like, man, I don't see how he can thrive in the league unless he gets some weight off him. I'm like, I don't see a problem with him being the size that he is, because you don't want to put these guys like this who just learned how to move with the body that they ended up with. You don't want to put them through another dramatic change. Like Chet got brought up. I'm like, man, Chet put on about 10 pounds of muscle since he's been in. But you don't want to throw the game off. Because I was listening to some stories about Zach Edey. The reason he stopped playing baseball was because he grew so tall that he outgrew all of his mechanics. And that could be the same thing. You don't want them to mess with their mechanics. But who knows? His league peak. I feel like, we want everyone who goes to the NBA's peak to be Hall of Famer. And just personally, just looking and just coming into this space, I had to get out of the mindset of thinking that, hey, your player comp is going to be Kevin Durant. Your player comp is going to be, Hall of Famers. It's okay to get a player comp. It's okay for him to be Mark Eaton. You know what I'm saying? It's even on a lesser term, if he could have a DeAndre Jordan-esque type of career. DeAndre Jordan was never just an elite shot block. I sold with that one. Do you know what I'm saying though? Like, if he can get to the career, if he can get 10 years, like I think Jeff Teague said it the other day. 10-5 and 5 is a good NBA game, and it'll get you 12 to 13 years. So that's what I'm saying. I feel like we said, get him in the right system and around the right people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Now, one more question, man. We saw some more people who committed to the draft who committed to the draft today. And my mind just went blank. I had his name and I just lost it. Hold on, I'm going back to it. Kentucky guard.
Rob Dillingham,
thank you. How we looking? They look at it as a weak draft class. I just think it's top heavy. I don't think it's a weak draft class. I just think you know what I'm saying?
I think it's weak in the sense of there's no player right now who I can see being the star.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why it's weak. Like, we don't have a Wemby, we don't have a Zion. I don't even know if we have a Jabari Smith Jr. right now. Okay, so I think it's weak in that sense. But I do think there are some quality players, like good, like decent role players who I can see out there. So I like Dillingham. I like Reed Shepard. I like a couple of these other cats out here. Dalton Connect, of course. But I don't know about weak, right? I just think there's not that star, that number one prospect who we follow every year. Because every year we have that, right? And this year there's been a bit less clarity on who that definitive number one is going to be.
I think a lot of people are looking at Brody out of from France.
What's his Alex name? Sarr.
Is that him? Who am I thinking about?
Well, there's two. There's Sarr, and then there's Zachary Richichet.
I want to say it's the first name you said.
Alex Sarr, yeah.
I think it's the first name you just said. But man, we moving forward close to the draft, man. But while I still have you here, we got a little bit of time left. I want to transition to the other sports that we potentially talk about. We had some recent retirements that we didn't really bring up on anything. Shout out to my boy Aaron Donald. You know what I'm saying? How are you feeling about, just the state of the league now that we see some of the guys from our generation? We had Kelsey retired. How are you feeling about some of these guys from our generation who are calling it quits right now?
Hey man, shout out to them. I guess football's a physical sport. These guys put in Hall of Fame careers. Won championships. They pretty much accomplished everything you could accomplish. They got amazing families to take care of. They put away that generational wealth. I mean, shout out to them, man. It happens, especially in football. The guys don't play as long as Braun and Tom Brady play. You know what I'm saying? Guy, this is a normal retirement age, I feel like, for most NFL players. So shout out to them, man. They got long media careers waiting for them. I know Kelsey, definitely. Aaron Donald, I think he a little quiet, but we'll see what happens to him, man. But for sure, shout out to him.
I can see Aaron Donald going to being a coach.
Yeah, I was about to say I could definitely see that. Coach, defensive coordinator, for sure.
He kind of falls in that category of people who like I look at Khalil Mack and I'm like, you're amazing at what you do, but I couldn't see you in front of a screen for 17 straight weeks like I could see some of these other guys.
I mean, Aaron Donald, he's not as quiet as people think. He just that's just the media persona he be putting on. But he definitely gives me more coach vibes.
Definitely. What level though? You get levels to this coaching thing. Do you feel like it's
NFL?
Okay. I was gonna say, do you feel like it's NFL? Like we see some guys who look like they're better for high school. I think the thing about Aaron Donald is I could see people getting intimidated by him. That's why I feel like he can be. I feel like being an NFL coach, since you're coaching other grown men, you have to have a bit of an intimidation factor about you. You know what I'm saying? Like you think of some of the best coaches ever. You look at Andy Reid, he's just very well respected. You look at Bill Belichick, who's like freaking dark. Not what's the dude from Star Wars? Like General Palpatine. I feel like at any moment he gonna hold his hand out like this and just shock everybody. So I don't know. I can see him being intimidating enough to be a freaking coach.
I mean, I don't know about intimidation. I think you just gotta know what you're talking about and you gotta win. That's how you get respect. Know what you're talking about and win.
Hey man, shout out to CTSBN. I think they broke it first. But man, Sean, great wrap up to the college season. We got a lot more stuff coming. Since college basketball is over, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be transitioning more into college football. I gotta check out the USFL, man. I've been seeing some things about it. Some of these new rules, so I gotta check out the USFL. But man, Sean, you got anything you want to add before we get out of here?
Nah, man. Look, one of these days we're gonna have to have this conversation about baseball, man.
I love baseball.
I'm seeing a couple things around the league now. It's early though. We're already seeing too some key injuries. Strider off the Braves. We'll see what's going on with him. Shane Bieber of Cleveland. We'll see what's going on. I think he has Tommy John on the way.
I was gonna say one of them had Tommy John.
We gonna peep about baseball for sure one of these days.
Hey, I'm gonna get back. I love baseball, man. But this is the thing about me. I played baseball coming up, so it's hard for me to sit down and watch a major league game. I don't know why. It's so hard. But new rules and everything. Like we got a minor league team here, and I went to a minor league game last year. And Sherm, I think that's the quickest baseball game I've ever been to, bro. I think it clocked in at like 2 hours and 2 minutes.
Nah, it's definitely a lot faster, especially with this pitch clock now. It's definitely a lot faster. I didn't realize it as much on TV, but when I actually went to a game in person, I definitely noticed it was just moving, like the speed of the game. But who knows? Maybe that's contributing to a lot more pitching injuries. Who knows? I do think there's a couple things, speed of the game for one, but also just mechanically, pitchers are changing up their mechanics a little bit, trying to get more heat, more aggression on there. And we're seeing a lot more pitching injuries. They're a lot more common than they used to be. So who knows?
Well, man, I'm gonna lock in on my baseball then, man. Since it's the off season, man. We got to talk about something. But we got playoffs coming up soon too, man. Make sure that y'all let us know who y'all got, because we got a competition coming up real soon. I can't announce it yet, but just know We got some stuff coming for you guys. You all love bracketology. Y'all love all the brackets and stuff. So we got some heat coming for you guys very, very soon, man. But it's about time. It's about time to
Now,
lock the
wait a
lines up.
wait a minute. Are
What you
you
got?
seeing this?
We
They
got
said Giannis injured his calf and his Achilles. He's going under MRI testing. Oh, brother, we
Oh,
gonna have
I
to
just
watch
saw
out.
that.
We gonna have to watch out on this, man. Especially this
Whoa.
close to the playoffs.
I
I
saw,
don't
and
think
he got hurt earlier too, but I didn't pay it no mind because you know what we call him. I didn't pay it no mind.
That's insane, man. We gonna have to see something now. And let me tell you something. If the Miami Heat go another postseason run where they get to bypass Giannis with this injury, oh brother, we gonna have some conversations, man.
I think we gotta have some conversations about the Bucks anyway, man. I told you what I told you. I think the Bucks are frauds.
Hey, we gonna see, man. That's insane.
Oh Lord, man. Let me find out, sir. We got to come back to back on these remix episodes.
We'll find out, man. You know we waiting on that Woj, Mom.
Oh my gosh, I think that's gonna be crazy. Achilles, man. I think okay, just real quick. Do you think that if it is an Achilles injury, what do they do this offseason? Because he's gonna be out all of next season.
They don't do nothing. If anything, they might trade Chris Middleton, try to reset some of that I can't talk. Salary, cap space.
Do you see a Dame move again?
Nah.
You don't think
You
so?
don't know what. 5-year, $60 million contract. He ain't moving nowhere.
Off of a bad season at that. Hey, we might see another Dame in Portland type of season next year if Giannis out. I think their problem is, and somebody's brought this up earlier. I don't remember where I saw it at. I said the Bucks have the worst chemistry in the NBA.
Worse. I don't know.
Especially out of playoffs.
I wonder how the chemistry in Washington is right now.
Oh, I'm talking about as far as playoff teams. Like as far as teams who paper-wise inherently should be very good. Like, and I can see that. Sometimes they just look lost. They don't look as lost as the Bulls, though. Did you see that Bulls play earlier? I think somebody threw us. I think it was who was it? Was it Chris Dunn? I think. Anyway, self-lob. He threw a self-lob to himself, and Andre Drummond came up behind him and tried to dunk it, and both of them missed. Chicago is poverty. But man, let's try to outro one more time. Well, we appreciate y'all for coming through to the lounge remix tonight. Me and my boy, Mr. Sherm. You know, wrong side. You know, we got to shout him out, man. You know how we going, man. But, hey, shout out to everybody who was here. Great college season. Congratulations to UConn and to South Carolina on the BTA tour. Hey, we had a great weekend in sports, man. My boy Cody Rhodes finished the story at WrestleMania.
Who?
Hey, we got to – hey, what? What'd you just say?
Cody Rhodes.
Hey, don't play with me right now.
We team Roman over here, bro.
No, you don't even – you can't even spell Roman. Be quiet. All right, so we back, man. But, yeah, man, shout out to everybody who was here. Me and Sean, we in here. You know how we get out, man. Sean, you got anything to say before we get out of here?
Hey, man, I just want to say one thing. Shout out to Trey. Shout out to Trey Young. He's coming back from his finger injury. He's going to lead the Hawks to their first championship in a long time, in a couple months. So shout out to Trey Young, my light-skinned king. He finally healthy, you feel me? So it's scary hours in the A, man. It's scary hours in the A.
If the Hawks and Celtics play, you're going to be in shambles.
Well, they did last year. I was a Celtics fan, you know what I'm saying?
In shambles. But, man, we good, man. Y'all be good out there, man. And, yeah, we out of here, baby. Peace.